Yo, what's good, everybody? Y'all thought we wasn't coming back just because we lost the game. You're wrong. We're back. The War Report is here in the building. The whole crew is here. Yeah, man. Before we get into all of this, make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the YouTube page, The War Report. We are there on YouTube as well. You can follow us, The War Report, Twitter and Instagram, and as well on TikTok. We are TW Report. And even though we lost, it's still not a year removed, so I'm going to still keep saying it. 48 to 45, respect it. Fellas, what's good? How we
What's
feeling?
going on, fellas? It's
Man, we terrible,
Wednesday.
man. We
I don't
terrible.
know. It's been how many days since that loss? I'm surprised that we're still ranked number 13 after that. Very surprised.
Yeah, we did not look like the number 13 team in the nation this past Saturday. Not even, I would venture to say that we did not look like a top 25 team Saturday.
Right.
Nah, we
Agreed.
So, yeah, I'm thankful to still be ranked. Very disappointed in the effort that I saw out there at multiple positions. Not really much redeemable to take away from that game, other than it's over. And hopefully, Arkansas will prove to not be a formidable foe, so that we can get back in the win column. That's all I got, man. That's literally all I got.
I mean, that's about all you can have. I mean, just hope last Saturday was an aberration.
and
not a sign
Arkansas
of
been
things
playing
to
good
come.
defense.
No. Listen. Y'all know I ain't gonna let you off the hook like that, right?
There is no hook to be off of. I'm not on a hook.
Every Tuesday and Wednesday show, right? We will have the Bo Nix bashing hour, right? Hosted by your boy, because he played like, I mean, listen, I don't know if it's fair after everything we saw from Bo Nix on the road to call last week an aberration, right? Like, I think it's very consistent with what we saw with him on the road last year.
I
right?
said, let's hope.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
We know what it
was
is.
abhorrent.
We know Bo Nix is a head case, but let's just hope that was an aberration.
I mean, that's
For
like
the
the
sake of
last
our
one.
mental health, let's hope it's an aberration.
All right, fair enough. I'm more of a realist.
Here's the thing about all of that is that we know if this is same old Bo, then this game he's going to play great, right? It's not a ranked team and it's at home. He's going to have a great game. If this is Bo Nix from last year coming back, then he's going to throw for like 300 yards this game and 3 touchdowns, and people are going to be back on he's top 5 SEC quarterback stuff, and this is the Bo Nix that we love to see. I don't know. Apparently, if your name is Bo and you play quarterback in the SEC, then you will be as hot and cold as possible. Because that's just the way that it is with SEC quarterbacks named Bo. Name a good quarterback named Bo in the SEC that played consistently well.
Name a second quarterback in named Bo that played in the SEC. I can't think anybody. Who else?
Bo Wallace.
Bo Wallace.
I only know one Bo I like, period, and that's Bo Jackson.
The only Bo we acknowledge is Jackson, huh?
Yeah, that's right. I don't even like anybody else named Bo. So
and Bo Pete, that's it. Only Bo I mess with right now.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I'm not gonna. I think if you don't know how we felt about that game, go back and watch our reaction show. You will get every bit of raw and unfiltered.
I know what to say. Bo is trash. Trash.
Let me ask you guys this: is there any hope for our O line this year?
Yeah,
I do. I do think. I think there's actually precedent for our O line getting better mid-season. Right?
Yeah, no, I don't think that our O line is going to be trashed the entire year. I think the problem exists for me that like our O line didn't play terrible against Kentucky. They were bad in the first half. They got better in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Our defensive line is what troubles me because they were bad in the first half against Kentucky and they were marginal in the second half against Kentucky. They were bad the entire game against Georgia. So I'm wondering if we play someone who has a decent offensive line, which Kentucky was supposed to have a decent offensive line. They played, again, admirable, but Kentucky didn't have a pass game either. So it was just like, okay, buckle down on the run and make them throw the ball. We're good. Georgia was balanced, and we got whooped all up and down the field the entire game.
Right. I'll tell you what, if you're watching this broadcast next week, former offensive lineman King Dunlap is coming on this show to give us his thoughts on the offensive line.
Should be good.
Yeah, and so like I'm interested to hear somebody who did it at Auburn and did it at the pro level to hear what he thinks in terms of what kind of improvement we can expect from this, because Georgia got after Bo Nix. They got after him, and that was the offensive line didn't help him much. I thought they did some good things, but it just looked like we were overmatched to me. It looked like they had better athletes than our athletes, period. Right? So they just lined up and beat us, and they rushed, and they clearly watched the game film on Bo Nix. You watch their blitz scheme. They clearly said, make Bo roll to his right.
So I think that's interesting too, is like we talked about the unknown of Chad Morris, right? But what was known was Bo Nix. And so they played against Bo Nix's tendencies, not necessarily Chad Morris's.
They didn't even have to get to Chad Morris. It was Bo. If he is the same guy we faced last year and we apply a little pressure, we know exactly how he's going to react, and we'll be able to take advantage of it. They didn't even have to get to plan B. Plan A worked the whole game.
Yep.
Well, if you're Chad Morris, you own the game film on Bo. Right,
and that was actually going to be my next point, is that I think that points to, in my opinion, one of two things. Again, we're back to Gus Malzahn being the guy who wants to come and take over and decide this is how we want to run the offense, or Chad Morris not being as ingenious as we hoped he would be and being able to adjust and say, this is how they're planning to attack Bo. This is how we're going to counterattack that plan.
I mean, listen, we called that we called out his tendencies on last week's show.
Yeah,
right.
Anybody, so you watch 5 games of him on the road, and you'll be able to immediately tell this is what Phoenix does.
So that Chad Morris or Kirby Smart saw that, right? And if you're Chad Morris, then you have to know what they're going to attempt to do, at least to start the game, right? And if you don't force them to do anything else, right, by adjusting, they're going to keep doing the same stuff. And let you beat yourself. So, I was a little disappointed in the offensive game plan, but not just for Bo Nix, but also watching the game film, because it's one thing what we see as fans, but in practice, you know how good your athletes are. Right. And so when you're watching the game film on Georgia's defense, and you see your O-line and offense, right, it's not a message that you're sending to the team, but when you're game planning, you're thinking, these guys are better than our guys, right? And we need to have a plan just in case they consistently get penetration. So I said last week, I said the week before that, I'm going to say it again this week, right? Where are the 3-step drop, pop, release, get it out of Bo's hands? Why can't we, in a new scheme with a new offensive coordinator, get him easy throws? Can the receivers not run the routes? To me, it just doesn't matter how much they're blitzing if you can just complete 3 or 4 yard passes on slants, or just get the ball out of his hands quickly to help neutralize the blitz. That's it. Make them play honest, loosen, keep those linebackers honest. Right. And then start running draws to your running back, man, and getting them loose, and then something else opens up over the top. Right. It just seemed like it was bomb down the field, which he missed those throws too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so
now,
here's the thing too about that. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just want to, while you're in the vein of talking about that, the disappointment and the thing that harkens back to Gus Malzahn so much is their relentless need for big plays, as opposed to taking what the defense gives you and methodically working the ball down the field. Like they were anti that during this Georgia game for whatever reason. They were like, no, we're going to try to get chunk plays. And honestly, even with us being down big going out into the second half, I feel like we abandoned the run way too early in that game. We got down and we tried to just get all the points back immediately, as opposed to saying there's a lot of football left. Let's put a couple of good drives together, keep our defense off the field. Like they were hell bent on, they scored, we got to score back, as opposed to, okay, settle down, guys. Let's put a good drive together. And they just threw the game plan completely away and started trying to chuck it down the field.
The only thing I would object to with that is that you practice all week for what you think you're going to see from a defense as an offense. and you know their personnel. You saw them play their first game, so you kind of guess what they got left, what their strengths are going to be. You see it on tape, but also you still don't know, I guess, exactly how your guys are going to stack up against their guys until you get on the field. After a half, our offensive line coach, our offense coordinator, our defensive line coach, they've got to go, all right, we can't block those boys. It was very obvious to me that when we ran the ball, we got little to nothing. Now, when we got the ball in Tank's hands, otherwise, Tank made something out of nothing. He was absolutely, and we all said this, he was the bright spot of that game by far. Unfortunately, I don't think we would have been able to hand the ball off to anybody and have them make a difference there. So when we were criticizing them calling run plays from, well, I mean, I guess we'll see going forward. Well, we won't play Georgia again, so it don't matter. But
well, no, I'm not saying. So here's what I'm saying. I'm not saying run the ball and expect to have 20-yard gains. I'm saying make them play honest, right? So you have to hand it off every now and then, even if you only get back to the line of scrimmage, just so they know, oh, they still have run in mind. If they're not even thinking run, they're just like, oh, they're just gonna keep passing. All right,
at least. Sorry to cut you off, right? But at least try to get it to 3rd and 6 versus 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 11. Like, try to give Bo Nix a better chance of converting a first down, as opposed to
like Mike has said a couple of times, is okay, we can't run the ball against them, then we have to use our short pass game as our run game. And they absolutely refused to do anything to make it easy for the offense in 3rd down situations. It was all trying to get chunk plays, because you can tell it was trying to get chunk plays because the routes that were there were all long developing routes. Like, Bo wasn't on a 3rd step and then getting the ball out, or 3rd step, it's not there, go to a check down. It was 3rd step, not there, then he's reading something way down the field. So let me say this. That could be 100% on Bo Nix trying to be convinced he needed to get it all back.
Right
now, and that's what I was going to say.
He decided he didn't want to make the throws.
And that's what I was going to say. He could be missing some clean reads or some anticipatory reads that were there that he couldn't hit. And he missed 2 wide open bombs, man. 2 bombs, one where Schwartz had to do clearly beat. It was another one down the field. I don't know if it was Schwartz or not. But listen, if you hit those, then we got 14 points on the board, 13 points on the board at half at the very least. Then it's a different game. And then what the defense is willing to give you changes if you just hit what was available. If he can't hit what they have schemed up to be available, then it doesn't matter what we do otherwise, because he's always going to be the weak link, and we'll never get anything done against a good defense as long as he can't hit wide open wide receivers. So
let's be clear. The problem wasn't that there weren't open receivers in that game, right?
Right.
Now against a good defense, your opportunities may be less, right? But a good quarterback will take the opportunities that they get against a good defense. And I thought, you're right, completely right, Brian. Like, if he hits those passes, the total sum effect of that on Georgia's defense is that now they have to play us honest deep.
Correct.
Which takes some pressure off our O-line, right? And then you can start handing the ball off to these running backs. So you're either doing it with your short passing game, or if you're going to go for broke and throw those bombs on 3rd and 8 when we only need 9 yards, you've got to hit those passes.
Yeah.
And I just think that at some point, Bo Nix is way too. I think, man, I can appreciate the belief in himself that he can make any play, but we had a whole year of what we saw last year, and then we've got this year. He's starting off in first half against Kentucky, was all last year's Bo, right? And then the second half we really credited to Chad Morris's offense, right? I saw against Kentucky that he tried to do some different things than what we've been doing. Right, some short passes, and I just don't know why we abandoned all that against Georgia. Now, mind you, O-line didn't help on the first drive. The 2 straight false starts. I mean, we were in a 1st and 20, right, to start the game. Inside our own 15. But I just don't. I just think that and this is why I'm interested next week to get King's take on, right? Like, if this O-line stays at this level for the rest of the season, are we just to expect that we cannot improve offensively or be any good teams this year? I just don't believe that. I think that you can scheme your way out of that to some extent because they did do some good things, right? And we know that we do have talent on the O line. They're just not experienced, and they're not the big uglies that we're used to. So I don't be dead horse. To me, this really just falls on Chad Morris and Bo Nix, right? Like, and I assign more to Bo than I do to Chad Morris because I've seen it looked like he tried to do some different things. I just don't. I have to rewatch the game tape, to answer the question about whether Bo's not taking what's there, right? Or if the play calling is not providing those opportunities. But it just occurred to me that there were open receivers. Now the drop by Shedrick Jackson, I like, if I'm letting Bo off the hook a little bit, when your receivers drop wide open passes, it doesn't help. But that how the old adage goes: if you're a quarterback, you have to have short-term memory loss. You have to forget that last play, and you got to go out and you got to throw the ball again. Seth Williams dropped a for sure touchdown pass. He had it, and instead of securing it with both hands, right, he tried to hold it in one hand and brace himself, and the ball popped out. And I just think the top tier receivers in the league are doing whatever they can to make sure that they secure the catch. Right. And that's what I talk about when I talk about his attitude as well, too. Right. Again, I can appreciate the confidence in your own abilities, but, but not to the point where you're abandoning basic fundamentals. Right. And then missing big plays. Now, we got beat by enough that I don't know that catch changes the complexion of the game. But it may. We'll never know because he didn't catch it.
Right.
What we do know.
That's what it comes down to is like, yeah, we're not blaming the entire game on a Shedrick Jackson drop or a Seth Williams drop or Bo Nix missing 2 or 3 throws.
Mm-hmm.
But you absolutely lose without them, right? Like you have no chance of winning without those things, right? But you at least give yourself an opportunity to win the ball game if you pick up that third down Shedrick Jackson with an easy completion. If you catch that touchdown Seth Williams with an easy completion. If you hit a wide open Pegues or a wide open Schwartz streaking down the field, Bo Nix. If you make those plays, you put yourself in a position to win ball games. Doesn't guarantee it, but it definitely puts you in a much better position, if nothing more than making the score closer, making the defense have to respect you differently, making them have to flip the field, something. It changes the complexion of the ball game. So 4 or 5, and that's literally every game. It probably boils down to 3 or 4 big plays that one team makes versus the other one, especially if there's going to be a top 25 matchup like last one was.
Right. Like, consider this. Georgia's defense played 4 quarters and didn't have to make any defensive adjustments for 4 quarters.
They made 2 defensive adjustments. That's not 100% true. One of them was late in the game when we started hitting this the backyard football. Bo Nix backs up 15 yards and then throws it to Tank because he was the blocker that stayed in as running back. They started to take that away late in the game because they're like, okay, this is the only play that y'all gonna run. This is literally the only thing that's working against us. We're not gonna they basically started spying on Tank.
Yeah, I don't really consider that an adjustment because at that point in that point of the game, right, they're playing safe football, right? Like they're just keep it in front of you type football. But I mean, we didn't. They were never in fear of losing that game in the third and fourth quarter, so they didn't make any meaningful adjustments, man. I mean, those were normal. They didn't change their defensive scheme, right? They got up and then they played safe. If you want to call that an adjustment, right? Like going to like a prevent defense, like I guess that's an adjustment, but they didn't make any meaningful
adjustments.
They
went to prevent is what I'm saying. Like they had already been in prevent. That's the reason why it was working. Like that's why they were able to do it because everybody was just backing up 10 yards and it's like, okay, run for my life, throw it underneath the Tank, and he makes some magic happen on the back end.
Right.
The only other thing that they did was they adjusted where they were bringing their blitz from because earlier in the game. So you have to remember they lost LeCount. Was it third quarter to a targeting penalty?
Second. Yeah, third. It was third.
So they lost LeCount to a targeting penalty. They were bringing a lot of their blitzes from linebackers. They switched and started bringing their blitzes from the nickelback position just because they they weren't trying to cover the same way on the back end. So, like, again, very minor adjustments because we made some of the same adjustments. Like, because we didn't have Smoke in there, we were playing a lot more nickel and a lot more dime packages than we typically would have, just because we didn't have our guy in there that was going to normally be in the box, right? So, anyway, the game sucked. We sucked. On to the next thing. This coming week, we got a lot of games, some of them not so good, and we will start with the not so good ones. Let's start at the one that I am absolutely the least interested in, and that is South Carolina versus Vanderbilt.
Ooh.
Is Will Muschamp coaching for his job this year?
It's the hot seat bowl right here.
If Will Muschamp loses this game, I don't know that he makes it through this entire season.
Agreed.
Yeah, if he loses this game, for sure. Yeah.
He could be a midseason fire. Yeah, he could be a midseason fire.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that he needs to win this game. I don't even know that he needs to win it convincingly. I just think he needs to get out of this. He needs to leave freaking Tennessee with a W. Like, he cannot walk out of Nashville without a win in this game and expect that he will see the end of this season.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't get fired if he lost this game. Like,
Yeah.
the next week. Because if you lose to Vandy, like, what are we doing here? But maybe. But again, Muschamp will come up with a win later on in the season that he has no business winning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the question is he going to get to stay around long enough to see that game where he can come up with a miraculous win?
If he loses to Vandy, no.
Well, his buyout is $18.6 million. If you would like to speed that process up, there is a GoFundMe, Will Muschamp's buyout at GoFundMe.com. You can go there and donate to the cause. Some very passionate Gamecock fans set up a GoFundMe to fire.
There, like, get rid of them. All right.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so who are we picking in this game?
South Carolina win, because I don't think Vanderbilt can ever be good at football. They were good for what, like 1 year in the last 10 years?
James Franklin.
Yeah. So
they
weren't even good the whole season with Franklin. They were only good for like half of that year.
They were like 8-5 one
year.
Which is great for them.
Very competitive. They were very competitive that year.
Yeah, they were competitive. That's not the same as good.
Yeah.
That was Vandy good, but yeah, I mean,
for sure,
right. Yeah, it's relative. It's relative.
Yeah. Like, they wouldn't, again, we want to fire our coach after 8-5, but for Vandy, that's the raise.
They weren't a bye week. You couldn't sleep on them that last year. James Franklin had them.
Yeah,
right. Get up for that game.
That's a true statement.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so I think everybody is going South Carolina in this game. Vanderbilt played decent. Who did they play their last game?
LSU. They got walloped.
That wasn't decent.
No, it wasn't the LSU game. What was the game?
Talking about the first game?
Yeah.
They played. Who did they play?
Tennessee. Was it Tennessee that they barely lost to?
Let me see.
No, it was Arkansas.
No, Arkansas.
Arkansas played.
No,
Georgia.
they opened their season Texas A&M, LSU.
That's right.
I was 41 with
A&M.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last week was 41-7. They lost. Week 1 was Texas A&M, and they lost 17-12.
That's what it was. So they played decent against Texas A&M, or is Texas A&M just that bad? Again,
boy, Jim Bob Fisher stealing money yet again, living off that one title.
I will say this again: Texas A&M is not a top 25 team this year.
No, they are not.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get to the next to that game. Let's keep going. I want.
Well, the next one that we're going to talk about is Mississippi State versus Kentucky.
So this is a pretty interesting matchup, actually. What do we make of this point? Right, like South Carolina needs to hold on to Muschamp. He's probably going to be the best coach they can get right now. We
talked about this a little bit on a previous broadcast about how we feel as if South Carolina pretty much has to take what they can get when it comes to coaches. They're like Arkansas or Vanderbilt or you're gonna get what you can get. Like, Sam Pittman's actually not a bad hire for Arkansas.
Right, he's a good hire for them.
About them when we get to our game. they're gonna have to find a Sam Pittman type of guy who's like an up and coming guy. They're gonna need a freaking PJ Fleck type of hire where it's like he's not the shiny name, but he's gonna get your program in the right position. A James Franklin type of thing before he become. But the problem is that guy's only going to be there 2 or 3 years until he can find a better job.
Right.
Right.
But,
Agreed.
All right. Mississippi State, Kentucky.
Yeah. What do we make of Mississippi State? Right, like they go out and they beat LSU by 10
score
plus,
a ridiculous amount of points,
and then they turn around and lose the next week. All right, like so, I'm just interested. I mean, this is the year one of this kind of Mike Leach bringing the air raid offense to the SEC type deal, and Costello threw for a record amount of yards in week one, like 600 something yards in week one. And so I think Kentucky is an average football team, right? And I'll be looking to see if they can just, is this last week an aberration, or will they blow Kentucky out? Going in and prove that they're in the top half of the tier of the SEC this year.
I just don't know that Kentucky is the kind of team that's going to get blown out. They just feel like the kind of team that's going to be a nuisance for you for the majority of a game, unless you are an elite team. Like, it's going to take an elite type of team to blow Kentucky out. I don't know. I just get that feeling that they're too disciplined to get blown out unless you're really good. Hence why we didn't blow them out, because we're not really good. But I just think that they're a disciplined team. They're not gonna really blow anybody else out. They're just gonna be, like you said, average, and that average is gonna get them close in most games.
And this is a desperate Kentucky team,
right?
Too.
I just don't want to. I don't know. Yeah, if as it relates to us, I just don't want to know what to make of them to Arkansas, right? Like, I don't know what to make of them losing to Arkansas, seeing as how we play Arkansas this week. And I'm not big on the whole transitive property of we beat the guy who beat you or lost to the team that lost to you type deal.
It's super irrelevant to even try to make those type of comparisons, because playing styles and stuff, like certain types of teams beat certain types of teams just because they're susceptible to that sort of thing. Like the year that Texas A&M beat Alabama, that doesn't mean Texas A&M was the best team in the SEC. Alabama just always struggled with Johnny Manziel. Right? It's just the thing.
Well, what is not an argument is Arkansas is in the bottom half of the SEC, right? So
for sure,
like, you lost to a team in the bottom half of the SEC, and I think that loss actually says more about their team than the win over LSU.
I agree with that, but I also think that says something about LSU and their ability to put together quality defense against teams that are high-powered offensively. So, but I'll say that with a caveat that I do think that Costello is he's kind of a Bo Nix kind of quarterback, where he's going to be hot and cold. Like, one game he's going to be on fire and he can't miss, and then the next game he's gonna be all over the place. I think he's going to be that kind of guy for at least this first year in this offense, because he's going to be required to throw the ball so much.
Right. Yeah, that was going to be my point. Right. In a Mike Leach offense, he's going to throw the ball 50 to 60 times a game. Right. So, if you have a high completion percentage, in an offense like that, he'll break every SEC quarterback record for yards, completion percentage by the end of the season. But he's going to be going up against some better defenses. So I don't expect those numbers to hold, but the opportunities will be there for him, just by nature of offensive scheme. So, but Mike Leach can coach quarterbacks, right? Like, I mean, his quarterbacks have a long history of breaking a lot of NCAA records for passing yards. So I'll be very interested to see how this game plays out. Right. I'll be interested to see how this plays out, for Mississippi State, because, again, now you've got two teams playing each other. The one we've already played and beat, and the other one is on our schedule for later this year. right? And based on what we saw, it's really going to separate the haves from the have-nots. I think that Mississippi State can really prove this year. I think there's an opening for them to prove that they're in the top half of the SEC if they can go out and take care of business.
All right. So who are we picking? What are the picks for this game? Caesar, who you
Mississippi
got?
State.
Mike Scott from Mississippi State. Caesar.
I'm actually gonna go Kentucky here.
Okay. B. Will, who you got?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Kentucky too. I'm not. It's I don't want to think that Arkansas is good because I know they didn't have the talent, especially on defense, but a really good coach. They didn't hold LSU down by any means, so I don't want to give them credit for that. But them holding down not LSU, I'm sorry, who did Arkansas play week 1? Texas A&M, right? Was that who they played?
They played Georgia.
Georgia week 1.
They played Georgia, okay, and it was competitive in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And then Georgia pulled away. Okay, so they held Georgia down better than we did in week 1. There's also some familiarity there, so I can't really take too much out of that. But them being able to see what LSU did on 1 week of prep. So not LSU, excuse me, Mississippi State. So they go from Georgia to Mississippi State, and they say, all right, here's how he's throwing the ball. I do think there's a talent gap between Mississippi State and everybody else, which is why Mike Leach just won't be able to come in here and bomb on like 10 out of the 12 people that he plays every year like he did over in the Pac-12, because they don't have the talent to stop that. I don't even think you have to be talented to be able to run an air raid offense. You just chuck it all over the place. But I don't think it's going to take. I'm caught between Mississippi State actually being able to catch Kentucky slipping somewhat, but at the same time, I don't think you're just going to be able to get away with doing that to everybody. So I'm halfway between wanting to give Arkansas credit for holding them down and halfway between I want to give Mike Leach some credit. I don't think he's just going to run up against a brick wall every week like, oh, we're just going to chuck it again. It doesn't matter if they stop it. He's a coach too. He sees X's and O's. So I think Kentucky's got to be really desperate, though. I think that's the difference. Kentucky's got to be really, really desperate. You just lost to one Mississippi team. You're about to play the third team out the West, and you're going to lose 3 straight. You at home for this one, and you was at home last week too. If anybody is beatable, and last week should show that Mississippi State is beatable, you've got to get this win, because otherwise you hadn't even got to the big boys yet. I think Kentucky wins this game.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go Mississippi State on this one, even though I want Kentucky to win again for the sake of us looking better with that win in our win column. But the only reason I'm going to pick Mississippi State in this game is simply because I'm not sure that Kentucky's off defense against the pass is going to be able to stand up against Mississippi State's pass offense. So I think it's going to be Mississippi State in this one. All right, let's move on to games that are also not super interesting, but, whatever. These guys against Ole Miss.
We get to find out a lot about Bama's defense this game.
Will we know? Will we?
We get to find out a little bit more about it. We know they can outscore teams, but I want to see if they are at stopping a offense that seems to be something in Ole Miss's.
Yeah, let me give you a little
offense. Lane Kiffin is familiar with the team, so I think that there is some intrigue there. But go ahead, Mike.
Through 2 weeks, Ole Miss has the highest scoring offense in the SEC. They've scored more points. They went up against Florida and Kentucky consecutively. So, I think that based on what Texas A&M was able to do to Bama for 2 quarters, this might be an interesting game. And because Lane Kiffin is familiar, as the first offensive coordinator in Saban's kind of offensive revolution, right? When he started renovating them, I think he'll be able to do some things effectively. At the end of the day, Bama will win because it'll come down to y'all horses are just better than your horses, right? I think that they can make this interesting. I have seen some holes in Bama's armor through 2 games. They don't look invincible. I think they're the best team in the SEC, but they don't look invincible by any stretch. So I expect Ole Miss. I expect this to be a game late into the third quarter. offensively. Bama has had some pass, some interesting breakdowns in pass coverage. If Lane Kiffin can hit a few big plays and get them off tilt, you can bait Matt Jones into some bad throws here and there. I've been very impressed with him. I've been very open that I think that he's an above average quarterback. But the opportunities will be there for Ole Miss's defense. Matt Jones will throw you a couple. You just have to catch them, and then capitalize on those turnovers. So if they can do that, if they get 2 or 3 turnovers in this game, it'll be a game late into the third quarter. I'm calling Bama in a close one on this one.
It's going to be a blowout. Bama's going to blow them out. Whatever familiarity Lane Kiffin has with Bama's defensive identity and staff, they also have that familiarity with his offensive system, what he likes and what he doesn't like, and how he wants to use his guys. I do think Lane will surprise him, get a couple touchdowns in, because, that's what he does. He's a couple big plays. He knows who to pick on, I'm sure, because, Bama hadn't looked extremely stout on defense. But ultimately, yeah, I think it's going to be maybe close for a quarter and a half, and then Bama will pull away, and then that'll be it. And they're going to shut it down in the second half. They'll probably have the backups in by the – I don't know. You probably can't ever just, turn your back on Lane. He'll put up a touchdown on you quick. So I can't say they will never get more than 4 touchdowns up.
Okay.
I honestly think that Bama's going to win this game by at least 20.
Yeah.
I think that, it's probably going to be mid-20s to mid-40s type of game. But I do expect it to be close and they pull away in it. I don't think it's just going to be a domination from the kickoff. But yeah, I think they're going to – I'm not ready to say 3 touchdowns, but 20 is where I'm probably comfortable at with that. I don't even know what the spread is on this game, but –
yeah, I got them by at least 2 scores. It's going to be an interesting game offensively, but I just don't think Ole Miss can stop Bama's offense.
Right.
Can I flip my pick? Can I flip my pick?
Yeah.
What
you're going to pick Ole Miss to win?
No, he was saying it's going to be close.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think the Lane Kiffin factor intrigues me in this one. And Bama is good for a dud. Like a dumbfounding dud. Everything that you guys are saying is true, right? And what college football teaches us is that when all things are true, right? Some things are not permissible, and I believe that this game has upset potential. So you know what? The game is at Alabama. Is that Bryant Denny?
Is it?
Is it? No, it's at Alabama.
It's at Ole Miss.
I said I have it as Ole Miss on my screen, but
okay, yeah. They got the game at home. Yeah, I'm going to call the upset here. I think Lane will pull out. Look for something crazy. I think this will be a crazy game. And going into the fourth quarter, Lane will pull out all the tricks. And you know what? Could you think of anything more satisfying than him beating Saban, right? And according
he would never let anybody live that down if he does this.
Right. And according to Bryant, but Saban is not a good in-game coach anyway. So I don't see why we would call them big. According to Bryant.
I'm not even worried about Saban in this. I just know that what I saw last week was so here's the reality of what you're talking about. Bama's definitely not flawless. They were backed up inside their own 20 on 3rd and 20-something. And he hit Jalen Waddle for a 70-yard ridiculous play, the very next play.
Talent.
And that's, I think, the ultimately, the only reason I can get with the close game is because I don't know that Ole Miss is, they're the type of team that if you let them have opportunities, they're going to take advantage of the opportunities, right? I just don't think, I think the talent gap, what B. Will just said, the talent gap is really where you're going to see Bama's going to get it ultimately in the end. It's just going to be a talent gap. I just don't know that Ole Miss has the horses in the race. But yeah, Bama's definitely susceptible. And if they're going to lose, it's going to be in these first couple of weeks, if you ask me.
Yeah. I'm calling this. This is my upset special of the week. I think that Lane Kiffin could out scheme the talent on the other side. I honestly do, right? You know, and quite frankly, it gets boring picking Bama to win every week, right? Like but they're good for a dud every year, and they're the favorites in every game they go into, right? They're the favorites in every game they go into. I'm calling Ole Miss, War Eagle.
You're gonna be looking like a genius for about a good 7-8 minutes in this game, Mike. But
I'll
be
Ole Miss
watching.
is gonna jump out to like a 10-0 lead, and
you're gonna be looking real smart,
ballistic in our chat about. I told y'all, Bama's about to lay an egg, and then Bama's gonna go on a 20.
You're gonna be looking like Mike Stradamus. For about 8 minutes.
Y'all know me. I die hard. They'll be down 21 in the fourth quarter. I'm like, I don't know, man. They still got a chance. So I die hard. I'm going with that.
Double down.
Hey, we're definitely putting this clip out there if you call this
for real.
For real.
Next game, which I probably should have put this one before the other one, but I was being petty. But whatever. Missouri is going to LSU to play a game that they're going to get crucified in, but does anybody feel differently than that?
Yeah, simulate game. Simulate game.
So now?
I say a simulate game.
Yeah, LSU big.
Again, I'm not. I stand by LSU. Still got 3 more losses left in this season in them, but this ain't one of them.
Yeah, that's not it.
Now, the only thing I'll say about go ahead, Caesar.
No, you go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say the only thing that I'll say about LSU is what I saw from week 1 to week 2 with them is that they did look like they improved. I think they're figuring some things out on offense, right? I think that they're breaking in a new quarterback, right? And good teams do this after they have to replace tons of NFL draft picks. And if you go back and historically you look at their recruiting. I don't think anybody will deny that the talent is there. It may be raw and undeveloped, but we see this with the top tier teams in the SEC. After they replace a quarterback or lose a bunch of draft picks, they start slow, right? They don't look so great, and then they build as the season goes on. To me, LSU has always been that kind of program, and quite honestly, until Georgia's latest resurgence, they were really the only, and the off years that Auburn had when we were good. They were really the only consistent challenge in terms of talent to Bama. That 2011 championship game, which was one of the worst we've ever seen, right? They played 2 of the worst games I've ever seen. They played the defense bowl 6-9, right? But and that was Patrick Peterson, was on that team, and Tyrann Mathieu, and but they had 22 draft picks between the 2 teams, right? And it wasn't heavy in Bama's favor. LSU has more draft picks on that team. So, they consistently produce Odell Beckham type talent, right? I don't know who saw what Jordan Jefferson did in the game at Minnesota, right? He had 170 yards receiving in his second NFL game, right? I just think the LSU is just.
I was like, who the heck is Jordan Justin Jefferson?
Justin Jefferson, sorry. Jordan Jefferson was his brother, right? They had dynamic proven talent year in and year out, right? So I look to see more of the same. I think that they'll blow Missouri out in this game. I still think the LSU is a top 4 team in the SEC, right? I think they'll show that as the season goes on. I think they'll end the top 4 team in the SEC.
Nah, they won't. I think they lost a lot. More importantly,
if not them, then who?
I'll say Bama, Georgia, Florida. All right, now let me find a number 4 that's not LSU, because it ain't LSU. It's not A&M because they extremely mid. We extremely mid.
That's actually who
maybe
I'm going to
Tennessee.
put at number 4 in the SEC right now is Tennessee. Oddly enough,
it may be Tennessee. I'll find out real quick next week. It's not that LSU is bad. It's that you don't lose that much talent. Everybody can lose some talent. You don't lose that much talent, and the better defensive coordinator at the exact same time and not have a very, very significant drop off. I'm not saying they're going to be like 2-8, but I don't see them getting past 6-4. I just don't. I don't see it happening. They're going to at maximum 6 games. That they look much better. They play Vanderbilt. All right, Vanderbilt is your get right game. That's your bye week / scrimmage week. Everybody better look good playing Vanderbilt, except for Texas A&M, because Jimbo is stealing money. That is why they didn't look good against Vanderbilt, and it was the first game of the season. Man, Derek Mason gonna have them boys. He'll give a good talk, and he'll have them boys ready for the first game of the season, for the first quarter the next week. Then that's it. So I'm not impressed if they look better against Vanderbilt. I think the more they play better teams, it will start to show. They may be competitive, and they may have that pride of a champion and all that stuff, but they're not going to win more than 6 games. No, I don't think they'll win more than 6.
Yeah, again, I've picked them to lose 4 this year. This is not going to be one of them. All
Yeah,
right,
listen, in an all SEC schedule, I'd just like to say that 6-4 is not a bad record, right?
It's not a bad record.
Like,
I'm not saying I'm not saying LSU is terrible. I'm just saying that they're much worse than they were last year.
Well, when 2 of your games are against Vanderbilt and Missouri, you got a little leg up on that 10-game record. Like, that's 2 really easy. Those are the worst teams in the conference by far. Now that we've got better coaches in both Mississippi schools, so yeah, they got the 2 easiest. Do we play either one of those teams?
We've got South Carolina, we've got Tennessee, Georgia. I think those are our only, and Kentucky. So no,
Kentucky.
Those were our games from the other side of the conference.
Yeah, let me just put it this way. I'm looking at the SEC West this year, and I don't see a team in the SEC West that they can't beat this year. I just don't. Right? Yeah, except for Bama, maybe.
They can't beat Bama.
They can compete in all those games.
You know what? I actually I have to think back to when I was calling them losing 4 games and remembering one of the games I thought they were going to lose was us. So maybe they only lose 3 games this year.
Right?
They only lose
Let's
3
be
games
real.
this year because
Let's be real. Some things are coming into focus now.
Wait, they still got to play Florida. That's their cross division rival, right?
Well, that was one of your losses, right? Ike?
Correct. Florida, Bama.
So Florida, Mississippi State already.
Mm-hmm.
Bama. Just
and
one
I was
more?
calling us as the 4th one, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Let's be real.
So
let's keep
3.
it real.
But that's a home game for us. So that's a possibility.
Let me see what.
Ole Miss can give us some problems.
Let me see what we could do.
Mississippi State already did.
I call Ole Miss to upset Bama. So like,
Ole Miss can give them problems.
Yeah, I mean that's
my upset pick. Arkansas will be LSU.
I'm not going to back off of my 4 just because I called it like literally before the season started. I called 4, but I actually, but you know how you look at your hand in spades and you like it's 3 and a possible in here, and one of my 3 and a possible somebody like was cutting that super early, and I was like, I'm gonna get sick.
Right.
That's how I'm looking right now. I'm like, how am I gonna sneak this 4th one in here?
Yeah, but listen. In an all like so, you have to measure the gravity of the games. One loss better or one loss worse, a little bigger than you would because we've got a short season on our hands. So in an all SEC schedule, to me, there's a vast difference between 6-4 and 7-3. 7-3 is good this year. 7-3 is a great record, right?
Yeah,
8-2.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah,
I'm not disagreeing
is
that's
a winner.
Excuse me, in the SEC, that's a good record. If you're 7-3 in the ACC, you're trash.
Correct. But this year in the SEC West, particular, if you go 7-3, I'm giving you a lot of credit for. Right, because I agree with the premise of Ike's argument and what Brian is saying about how much they lost. I'm just saying that the better teams in college football reload and then figure it out as the season goes on. And if they can show improvement, they have the talent. It just may be raw and undeveloped, but we'll find out if they can fill the coaching gap. To me, that's TBD. Right, at the end of the day, if you can, beside Bama, I don't see anybody else in the West that they can't just out talent on any given Saturday, right? Like, I mean, there's not a bunch of I don't see. You're saying Jimbo is overrated, right? Like, I mean, if I'm going on what you all are saying, I think that the battle will be between LSU, and I said Florida was a little overrated. Like I'm not so sure about that now, and we'll get to that game. But what is Tennessee? Like I just don't. I mean, if they're not 4 right now, they're sitting at 5, and they just have to win one game to change my mind, right?
Yeah,
and they just have to win one game to change my mind.
Yeah. All right, so we got that game. I think everybody is firmly picking LSU to win that one. Let's go to a more intriguing matchup, the one that we just kind of teased, and this is Florida versus Texas A&M. I'm going to get mine out of the way. Again, I will say it till I'm blue in the face, Texas A&M is not a top 25 school, and Texas A&M will lose this game. Go at it, guys, because I have nothing else to say other than I don't think that they're that good.
Jimbo Fisher.
Yes, I love it.
Aspire to be as mediocre as something as Jimbo Fisher and get paid so well for it. I need my one hit. He's a one-hit wonder, and he's still touring and doing documentaries off that one hit 20 years ago. I cannot believe this man is still getting paid like this. That they came to get him from Florida State while they were looking terrible. And we see what Florida State has been. I don't know how you actually win a national championship and have less talent after that than you had before that. Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. We did it because I understand how we did it because I know how we work here. I don't understand how they did it because Florida State actually had a legacy as recently as the 90s with a legendary coach. And he was the coach, which was when they actually accrued all that talent. So you had a legendary coach accruing talent. Jimbo comes in, rides the wave right into a national championship, and then the talent just steadily decreases, and you leave the cupboard bare. And they chose to come and get him. And all he's going to do is the same thing. He is Kevin Sumlin, except, he's Kevin Sumlin. Huh. That's it. Texas A&M got the same coach except in vanilla. That's it. He just happened to. Kevin Sumlin didn't have both defense and offense talent all everywhere like Jimbo did. That's why Kevin Sumlin didn't win. Can you imagine if A&M had a defense that year they had Johnny? He would have won a championship, and he would have been hard to get rid of. Somebody would have came and hired him away, and he'd be scamming somewhere else. Instead, he's failing everywhere he's going. But anyway, long roundabout way. I expect Florida to win by at least 2 touchdowns. Jimbo's team will fight-ish. They're going to try. Kellen Mond is super mid. I don't know why they hype up a quarterback just because he stays somewhere long enough and the coach is an offensive coach, so everybody just assume he's going to get better. That's man.
The wild thing about Mond. They're like, oh, he's breaking Texas A&M records.
Anybody.
Because he's been there 4 whole years.
He's been the starting quarterback for 3 seasons now, right? And so he's had a lot of games to pad those stats up. And every other big Texas A&M quarterback who was slinging the ball over the field, they didn't stay longer than 2 seasons.
Right.
So he's had a whole other year of throwing the football. Of course, he's going to break their records. Like that's just silly. Mond. He's not horrible, but he ain't good either. Like he is the definition of mid.
Yeah.
Kellen Mond versus Trask. I'm going with Trask. Simple as that.
Yeah. Mullen got something cooking, man. Their defense ain't as good
Mike
this year.
hasn't said anything yet. He's about to pick another.
I just wanted to make sure y'all were done.
So he didn't already try to talk down.
A&M's losing this game.
He tried to talk down on Florida, so now he's trying to decide what he want to say with him. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so little analysis, right? Kyle Pitts to Kyle Trask, or Kyle Trask to Kyle Pitts is the most dynamic connection right now, offensive connection in the SEC outside of Waddle and
I was about to say
outside of Waddle and
Jalen Waddle is pretty dynamic, but okay,
right? And I take Waddle
and throwing to the ground. Bo Nix throwing to the ground. That's undefeated right now. That's like
Bo Nix at the sideline, right?
Man, after week 1, we could have had a conversation.
The right sideline because he rolls right.
But golly.
Right. So that's what scares me in this game about Florida, right? They do seem like they've got Dan Mullen is
Kadarius
an
Toney is
offensive.
the truth too. Now, like I don't want to just make him seem like
Yeah,
it's
Toney.
a bust. Toney is the truth.
Yeah, they got that. I've got Texas A&M by 3 in this one. This is a feeling. I have nothing scientific for you guys to argue against.
Pause the tape.
Yeah, right.
You're saying Texas A&M by 3. Give me a structure of a score. Like how many points is Texas A&M putting up in this game that they're going to win by 3?
I think that they score a couple touchdowns on defense in this game, honestly.
How many points are they putting up in this game?
Offensively, I think they put up.
No, just overall defense, offense, whatever. For them to win this game by 3 points, how many points are they putting up?
I think they put up 35 points in this game,
so
and they win this game 35-32.
Florida's going to score 32, and they're
right.
That's definitely going to include like 2 defensive touchdowns.
Texas A&M kicks a field goal as time expires to win this at home. I think that Florida, every year, that they are extremely hyped. They let us down. What I saw against Bama was I saw their defense actually do a lot of really good things against Bama in the first 2 quarters of that game. Right? They played them tough. They didn't have enough athletes. I still think that Bama has a lot of superior talent to Florida. Again, I would give them even better chance if they would have a full stadium. 12th man was actually a factor in this game. I don't think it's really a factor in any home game this season, although it was rumored that Georgia let in more fans than they said they would against us. Right? Like they didn't play by the rules.
It looks 60% full.
Yeah, they let in more fans than they said they were going to. I don't expect Texas A&M to do that, but I don't have a super scientific reason for this pick. I think that based on what they've done, I'm not on the Jimbo Fisher bash train that Brian is on. They've got some talent. They've been recruiting well as well too. And I saw enough last week that told me that they could be competitive in this game if the ball bounces right and if Florida gives them some gifts. And I think that they could do that in this game, right? So, I think that Florida could put up a dud for them, and turnovers will be the different. I think without turnovers, Texas A&M doesn't have enough offense to stay in this game. But I could see them producing some turnovers based on how Florida's running their offense and possibly having some chances in this one. So
let's talk numbers then. How many passing yards do you think Texas A&M gave up against Alabama last week?
I don't care. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't care.
Even though we're acknowledging that Florida has a dynamic passing attack.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really great receivers. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying.
Just in case you.
I don't have a stat-based argument for Texas A&M. That's what I'm saying. I'm just telling you.
All I'm saying is they're not that good defensively against the pass. They gave 52 points against Bama. 2 of them. Now they did throw two picks during that game, but I'm just saying I don't. We'll see. That's 2 very interesting picks you've made this week, sir.
All right, cool.
All right. We only got our game left, right? That's it. Did we talk about Georgia UT? No, we didn't. Let's talk about Georgia versus Tennessee.
Well, just like when they play us, Georgia, that is, it doesn't matter how good we may have been looking or feeling going into that game in years past. Georgia is a sore spot for us. Now, I don't think they're necessarily that much of a sore spot for Tennessee. Tennessee actually plays them fairly competitive, even when they're not good. But Georgia just embarrassed the mediocre quarterback in Bo Nix. Jared
Garantano.
He is a mediocre quarterback as well. Bo Nix in that club, Kellen Mond in that club, Garantano in that club. Mid quarterbacks, they probably sit around and smoke cigars and talk about how they miss throws, and then high five each other. All these guys are mid. Georgia's defense is good. I don't even know if they're great because Bo just looked bad, so I don't know if they're great or not. Georgia's defense is good enough to make a mid quarterback look bad. So for that reason, I fully expect them to win the game. Now, I do think it'll be closer than our game. Not because I haven't seen anything concrete from Tennessee because they've also played bad teams. So it's hard to say, oh yes, they definitely have a great defensive line, or they definitely have a great offense. Like I can't make that out until I see them play somebody who I know has good players in the trenches. But I know Garantano is mid, so Georgia will make him look bad, and they'll win by at least 10 points.
I concur.
I think you go ahead, Mike.
No, I concur. Yeah, Georgia by 2 touchdowns.
I think Georgia will fill the stadium to where it's 80% full, and Tennessee won't be able to hear the calls, and they'll struggle on offense. And I like Georgia's defense against Tennessee. I got Georgia.
I think for the games where it's pretty obvious everyone is going to pick one team, we should throw some other like random thing out there. Like, what's the over/under on the number of turnovers Tennessee has in this game? Something like that, just to make it more interesting, because the picks are like academic, right?
2.
How many turnovers do you think Tennessee will have in it?
Tennessee has 2 turnovers. At least one quarterback sack fumble, and at least one quarterback pick.
Yeah, I was going to say
Garantano.
This game as well.
Yeah, 2 to 3 turnovers in this game.
I was going to say about 3.
Yeah, I think.
2 or 3 turnovers.
I think he's going to throw two interceptions. Yeah. All right. Enough of that nonsense. Let's get to the game that matters. The game that everybody is here to hear us talk about, and that
does it matter?
It's the only one that matters to me. I don't care about how terrible we.
Can we do these? Can we start doing these first and get them out the way?
We gotta make the people wait for what they came for. You don't put on the star of the show first in the concert, man. So Arkansas comes to visit the Plains, playing against a very sketchy Auburn squad. What are we feeling about this game? I am going to start with my man, Caesar Walker. C-Dub, what you got?
Auburn's going to do one of them Auburn things. They're going to act like they didn't lose a week ago. And Bo Nix is going to be at home. Arkansas is not in the top 50 against passing on defense in terms of passing yards, ironically. I think Chad Morris goes back to what he did against Kentucky and call plays for Bo Nix to actually settle down into the offense. And I think Bo Nix actually responds. He's not going to look great doing it, just like he didn't look great the whole game against Kentucky. For the sake of my sanity and because I am a homer, I am going to go Auburn. We're going to kick about, 2 to 3 field goals, because that's what we do. I'm going to go about 23 to 17.
23-17, Auburn. Mike, what you got, man?
What I have is no confidence in both. So what I will say is that I think our defense will get up for this game. Kevin Steele has a long history now, Auburn, of the defense improving as the season goes on. They had to replace some monsters up there, and I think they're figuring some things out in terms of how to generate pass rush, with Marlon Davidson, Derek Brown going. But, I expect Smoke Monday to play the whole game and not be out on the first play, right? So I expect to have the captain of our defense back, which will certainly be a huge lift for them. Arkansas didn't do anything amazing offensively last week, right? I think our defense can easily overwhelm their offense, right? Unless our quarterback and our offensive coordinator are consistently losing the field position battle, right? And giving Arkansas a short field, and that's my biggest worry with us offensively is that we will play down to our competition and let the other team in a game they have no business being in. And then once Arkansas gets the field goods, right, Bo Nix is at home. So, again, if history is to repeat itself, we're to believe that that's a good thing for our offense. He took, let's be clear, he took a step back in week 2 against Georgia. He took a serious step back And I don't, I know the offensive line had their problems. I know there were some drops, but there was enough on him that could have changed the complexion of that game, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like the mistakes he made were just arbitrary and it wouldn't have mattered. It would have made a huge difference in the at least and us feeling like we do this week, or feeling like we played a good game and lost to a good team.
Right.
Right. He hits 3-4 more passes in that game, and we're having a very different feeling about Auburn this week. This week, let me take a quick look here to properly summarize how I feel about this game. After last week, I'm looking at our schedule, and I don't see a game on our schedule that we can't lose through the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a game that we can't find a way to lose between now and the end of the season, and it only gets tougher, right? So after Arkansas, we go South Carolina, Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Alabama, Texas A&M. That is brutal, right? So what I would like to see this week is I would like to see some evidence that we can at least be competitive, if not better than average, at home. I think, playing it, in front of 20,000 fans in your home stadium, I'm not sure how much of a home field advantage that is. But, I would like to see, them come out and show some consistency. I would like to see the offensive line show some improvement. If they can, I think that the score would be very similar to what we did against Kentucky. Right? They score somewhere between 28 and 35 points, and we win by 2 touchdowns at least. If Bo can't get it going, if he takes another step back this week, I'm calling Auburn, not with any conviction. Offensively, last week left a lot to be desired. If we scored 6 points, right? We got 2 field goals last week. We didn't score an offensive touchdown last week. So, I think maybe it could even be an ugly game, like a 21-7 type of game if we can't get anything going offensively. So,
That's actually almost exactly the score I was going to call. So
21-7, right? But if they, with the caveat that if he plays like he has been at home, then it could be 35-7. I think our defense gets up for this game and limits Arkansas offensively, right? And the offense plays a role in how many points the defense gives up if they can drive the field and not lose the field position battle, right?
Here's my analysis, and I'll let you go last, B. Will, on this one. Is I think we're going to get 2 touchdowns because of the defense, whether it's an actual defensive touchdown or a very short field, and we're going to kick 2 field goals, and we're going to come away with 20 points, and the defense is only going to give up a touchdown or 2 field goals. So I'm calling somewhere between 20-6 or 20-7 as the final score for this game. That's how I put it.
That's fair.
I don't feel like I don't think Arkansas has proven that they can run the ball very well this year. And that's been our Achilles heel, is teams who can run the ball have made our defense off balance. And then we all know who the quarterback is for Arkansas. He's going to give you a gift every now and then, and our defense has proven they can be opportunistic. 20-6, 20-7, somewhere in that range. Because the defense puts us in position to score touchdowns. The offense will move well enough to get in the field goal range and kick a couple more points through there.
Agreed. 100%.
What you got?
I'm thinking after they got embarrassed the way they did 4 days ago, everybody's gonna be playing with some fire that we didn't see last week. I think everybody's gonna be focused. I mean, now if there was a hope among the fan base that Bo would improve, then that hope has been dashed. And now there's going to be some show improve from Bo. There's going to be some definite show improve from the defense, because they got more embarrassed than anybody else, because they show better than that all the time. Bo's been what he was last week. I haven't seen our defense look like that since 2018. We looked bad. I think it was the Mississippi State game. We were at Mississippi State. And they kept running that little that quarterback option on us, and we could not stop it. That was the last time I saw us look that bad against the run.
Nick Fitzgerald. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
He
And
was
they
off
just
that.
did it against us the whole game. So I think they're going to be motivated. Felipe Franks is like Christmas in October. You know what I'm saying? Is who we should have played last year at Florida. I was very disappointed we ended up playing somebody competent in Trask instead of Felipe Franks. But Felipe Franks owes us a W. He's gonna give us a W.
He definitely does. That's a factual statement.
Yes.
Felipe Franks, we've been waiting to see you.
We need that W. Perfect time. Thank you, Felipe. So I think, and I wonder, man, we've been saying that Bo plays better at home than on the road. I don't know. I'm starting to waffle on that. And the reason is because we played Mississippi State at home last year, but they were not good. We played Bama at home last year, and he did play well, but Gus usually plays Alabama really well. He has it for Alabama, and Alabama's defense was actually down last year as well. So I don't think they were a good team, not a great team. They were a good defense, not a great defense. We played Georgia at home, and they embarrassed Bo. He did not play better at home because Georgia is a quality defense. Florida's defense was quality last year. They are not as good this year, but we look bad against them. LSU's defense wasn't great. It was good last year, but they had a great coordinator, and they embarrassed Bo, and the environment embarrassed Bo as well. I don't think he is as influenced. That's true. That's true as well. I don't think it's as much as home and away as it is
quality team versus not quality team.
Exactly. He is just a good defense with decent personnel, knows how to influence him and make him make mistakes, and he cannot make the one or two plays under pressure that will make the defense go, hold on now. All right. Are we sure we want to do that to that guy again? He cannot do it. So for that reason, I'm not so influenced that he's going to play better at home. Arkansas, Arkansas held Mississippi State to 14, who just put up 44 on LSU. And it's not that we can't do the whole transitive property in football, but I don't think you do that without at least having a decent coaching staff, even if you don't have all the talent you've had the last 3 years at Mississippi State, because they've had some good talent on defense at Mississippi State. But I don't know, man. I'm concerned because I do think Pittman, is Pittman his name, the coach at Arkansas?
Sam Pittman,
yeah.
I think he's a better coach than they've had in a while because they have responded almost instantly.
They had our offensive coordinator there last year. And that's another thing. There, people are saying that this is a revenge game for Arkansas players who are upset at Chad Morris leaving the cupboard there, all that kind of stuff. So they want to beat their former coach.
I'm sure they do.
They're playing with their hair on fire, which I expect them to do that early in the game. But I don't know that they have enough talent.
That's my thing. We have the horses on defense, at least. The trigger man on offense is shaky. I can't trust them. They could make him look bad a little bit, but I think we're back to that talent gap, kind of sort of where we were with Kentucky, where we're about right here and then they're like here. So even if they try really hard, as long as we don't play a terrible game, we're going to win it. I think maybe they score like 10, 13 at the most. I say 24-13. Auburn. They got to redeem themselves after last week, man. They got to.
It'll the final score, whatever the outcome is. I really feel like the feeling is going to be like, yeah, we won, but we don't have a whole lot to look forward to. And if for some reason, mark my words, mark this down. If for some reason they find a way to lose this game, Auburn finishes at best 4-6 this year, and no bowl game.
Ooh. Okay. So wait, hold on. Before we get out of here. Because I've been thinking this. If we lose to somebody we have no business losing to, like Arkansas, or Arkansas and then Ole Miss gets us too, right? Do we see would they get rid of Gus in the middle of the season? Is that possible? You don't think Auburn does that?
The only reason I say no is because he always has the Bama card in his back pocket. He doesn't have the Georgia and Bama card this year. Like every other year he's had to the end of the season where they're like, okay, you've played terrible, but you've got Georgia and Bama at the end of the year. Can you split those games at late season and he'll stick around and make it to a bowl game? This year, we're looking really shaky on making the bowl game, and it's going to be difficult for us to beat Alabama with the way that our defensive and offensive lines have been playing. So I don't know. I think it depends on where we are
listen,
in week 6.
Amazingly, if he beats Bama, that'll be 3 out of the last 4 years we beat them. So, like,
Yeah.
I don't think a midseason fire is plausible no matter how we're doing this year.
Right. I don't think you're gonna fire. I don't think you're gonna fire, like, especially during a season like what we're having. Also, too, y'all mentioning he got Bama in his pocket. Gus has never beaten Bama in Tuscaloosa.
Right.
He's always beaten Bama in Auburn.
Yeah.
So that's a tall order for a team
that's
assuming
why I say he still has it in his back pocket, because if he can pull it off this year, then it's going to be like,
guarantee his job for one more year.
Yeah. He's going to be the Giants slayer.
Guarantee his job for one more year.
All right. Well, I'll start playing the lottery too. we'll see who hits first.
Yeah, we're gonna lose that game.
Right, so, all right, that's it. Anybody had any other thoughts about this game coming up? I hadn't seen. I was expecting my man Keontae to chime in with what his score prediction was going to be here in the comments. But yeah, so I think everybody's calling a relatively close game. 2 scores. I think everybody still had their thing, like 10 to 14 points was right.
I had a 1 score, but I'm jaded. So
you said 17. What was your 10?
23-17.
Oh, 23-17. That's right. So yeah, you were within a 1 score game. We'll see what happens this weekend. I'm picking us just because I can't pick against Arkansas. I just can't. And I'm going to be 100% honest. If this was a Tennessee channel and I was talking about Auburn and Arkansas based upon what I had seen so far this year, that probably would not have been my score. That was a complete homer prediction that I just made. I am going to own up to that 100%, that I am playing all of the, if we do this and we do this, then, like I'm giving us every benefit of the doubt. Because to be, completely honest and unbiased in my prediction, Arkansas's defense has looked decent for out of the 8 quarters that they've played this year. They've looked good 6 of them. They looked bad the second half against Georgia, but they looked okay all 4 quarters against Mississippi State and the first 2 quarters against Georgia. And that's the only thing that scares me. Their offense still looks like a pile of crap.
That's why that's not a bad pick. Yeah. I know you said it's a homer pick, but they haven't proven to really consistently move the ball against anybody worth moving the ball on.
The reason why I say it's a homer pick is because if their defense plays really well, then as much as Felipe Franks is known to give up the ball, he's also known to just pull some miraculous crap.
Yeah, he makes a couple nice throws.
He came into his fame because of this miraculous throw he made at Florida. Was it his freshman year? Who did they beat on the last second ridiculous heave that he had?
I remember that.
I think it was either Kentucky or LSU. It was a pretty.
It may have been.
I think it was Kentucky. Kentucky caught a lot of close L's.
I think it was Kentucky.
Yeah.
It was it Georgia?
I don't remember who it was. All I know is
Florida hadn't beaten Georgia in the last 2 years. The last 3 years. No.
It's probably not. Like if you look up Felipe Franks Hail Mary, you probably could find it.
Yeah, it was. It came. Georgia was what came up. Was it Georgia? It wasn't Georgia. It couldn't be Georgia.
It was Tennessee.
Right? Yeah, Tennessee.
Okay.
Tennessee. Yep.
They worked out a lot of L's too. Yeah, they were
Hail Mary he made to Tyree Cleveland, where it was just like, what in the world was Tennessee thinking on this play? Like he just heaves a ridiculous bomb down the field, and Tyree Cleveland basically goes down there and snatches the ball from in front of a couple of guys and then just keeps running to the end zone. It was ridiculous. But yeah, that's where he became this like miraculous. See, Felipe Franks has got the it factor guy. And then he goes out the remainder of his career and either throws not uncharacteristic, but like inexcusable turnovers, has these inexcusable turnovers, or he gets hurt. Like that's like really what you get out of Felipe Franks is either injury.
Can Can I say though? Can I add? Though? It seems like these other schools seem to get out of their mediocre quarterbacks and into the better ones eventually, whereas we either get worse or we just stick with the guy who sucks the whole season.
Yeah, and
Right, like
that goes back to Gus Malzahn's
Customers on.
reluctance to pull the trigger and say, you know what, you're not getting it done. Let's get one of these other guys in there. Because now, so let's be clear though, Florida was still starting Felipe Franks last year until he got hurt. So
Right.
it's not
Right.
like, Mullen was down there like, you know what, Felipe, I've seen enough of you. He got hurt, and that's why
he lost his job to injury. Yeah.
And they started Jake Fromm over what's his face? Who went to Ohio State. Justin Fields. And he left and got further last year than Georgia did. So they may have been in the same situation.
Yeah, so I don't know that there are very few schools who have just said, you know what, this guy is just not it. Let's go to the backup and see what he has. That just doesn't happen a lot unless, and I know you're going to hate to hear me say this, and Mike has said this a couple of times, unless you're named Nick Saban. There just aren't very many examples of guys. The only other quarterback that I feel, not quarterback, excuse me, only other coach that has done that traditionally in the SEC that's really just gotten off of a quarterback and been like, nah, he ain't the answer, has been what's his name? Freaking Spurrier. Spurrier was quick to just be like, you know what? Get this guy out of here.
Put it in the car. Right.
Yeah, he was.
But Spurrier had this supreme confidence that he could coach any quarterback into being decent. Like, he didn't care who the signal caller was. He's like, if you're not going to do it, then this guy's going to. But somebody, by God, is going to throw some touchdowns.
Yeah. Garcia beat him, so yeah.
Yeah, all he needed was a quarterback and a football, and the football was optional in his offense, right? So, like, I would say, let me ask this question kind of in closing. If Bo Nix has a poor game and we lose, can we at least start talking about whether or not he's the guy? Now, listen,
that's a fair conversation to have.
Listen, now the articles were being written after last week's game because he no longer has the freshman excuse. I'm a freshman excuse, right? That's done with. We're over and done with that argument. He's young. No, man, it's your second year in the SEC. Grow up, right? Like, he should be there. He should have been arrived. So, like, I would like to know, and I think that the Heat will be even if we win and he has a poor game, because the titles look like the titles that I saw in the articles look like, have we seen the best that we're going to see from Bo Nix? And when I saw that, it encompasses exactly how I feel. Is it reasonable to expect any more than what we've already seen from him?
Yeah, I just don't know that Bo Nix has, like, I think we have seen his ceiling. Like, I just don't know that he has more to give us, even with a year of, and I think that's the sad thing. With a full year of SEC play, we have not seen any growth in him as a quarterback.
Right, or do we have any confidence that this coaching staff knows how to get it out of the quarterback?
No,
well, I think it's too early to say that about Chad Morris. But
Chad Morris, right? Yeah.
Can say about the
but it's a question.
Absolutely no.
Right, but it's a question that's waiting in the wings here. Like, it just seems like.
Yeah. So again, I think if he plays poorly this game against Arkansas, that question is 100% valid, and I think everyone whose heart bleeds orange and blue is going to start calling for the backup.
Yeah, it's going to see something else, right? And if we're not that next man up, that says a lot about our recruiting and our coaching staff.
Yeah.
Right. If the guy that you have is clearly regressing, right, then if it's not him, it's you. That's all I'm saying. Right. If it's not Bo, then it's you. So, one of those things, and I think that sometimes that they're hesitant to go to the backup, right? Because their egos are too fragile. They don't want to be wrong, man. Listen, just if you want to win games, just want to win games. And if we can't have a backup come in and take over for a struggling quarterback and perform decent, then that doesn't say a lot about our program, right? Or our player development. So that to me, that's the biggest storyline that potentially comes out of this weekend, right? Like, are we one step closer to replacing Bo Nix as a starting quarterback?
And somebody said it like last week. They put a lot, understandably so, but they put a lot on the quarterback's shoulders in terms of being a leader of the team, right?
Right.
And so I think not only is it that you have to bench your quarterback, but you're benching the leadership of your team. It almost seems is what the coaches are doing, because it's like, again, going back to Nick Saban, Nick's trying to win a game. But it seems like with Malzahn, it's like we've esteemed this guy to be the guy for our team. And I can't bench this guy because what does that do to the locker room? Well, if
What does
we're
losing
winning,
do to the locker room?
if we're winning,
like trash.
if we're winning, it does great wonders. But again, I don't think Gus looks at it like that. So he'll just go down in flames with this guy for whatever reason.
Yeah, I've said it. I said it before. I'll say it again. Gus has clearly bet his coaching future on Bo Nix, right? Like, I think that he has gone all in on Bo Nix, and his seat was kind of hot, and then he went and beat Bama last year, right? And then we had a poor showing in a bowl game against Minnesota, right? And so, he got outcoached, and it just seems to be a theme, right? So, like, if we're recognizing patterns, I'm just saying, like, listen, if this guy cannot play well at home, and this is what concerns me about a 21-7, right? Where we're already acknowledging that they're probably going to score a couple touchdowns because the defense is going to hand it to them, right? Like on a short field, like turnover on the opponent's 20-yard line, and then they, get in the end zone, right? But if they don't look good, if he doesn't look good Saturday, it's just time to start talking about what the future of this program looks like, because that's going to have a big effect on recruiting next year. Right. You need to go out. You need to go out and you need to get a quarterback, right? Because Bo still has 2 more years left at this, and like it or not, these kids look at whether they can come in and start immediately.
Right? Okay, the question: now that Joey Gatewood is gone, who was our backup quarterback?
Was the kid from Bowling Green?
Lloyd. I think.
Okay. Yeah. Do we know? Have any of y'all watched film on this guy? Do we know what he's capable of?
We took a look at it.
Yeah, I see some highlight stuff. That's about it.
Yeah, like, I mean, we didn't get a fall camp, and we didn't get a spring practice.
All right.
Right. Like, so there was no chance to really take a look at what he could do in A-Day or anything like that. Like, I mean, I just think, when you look at this thing, I just don't have a whole lot. I mean, the only hope that I have for him is that he's a transfer, and he was largely developed somewhere else. We have good luck with those, right? We have good luck with kids who learn how to play quarterback before they got to Auburn.
Yeah.
Right. So that might be it, but he's getting second team reps, right? I mean, they felt good enough to take this transfer and put him in the number 2 spot over Sandberg and some other kids who have been in our program. So, like, I mean, I think that's what I'm going, win or lose. That's what I'm going to be watching for, because a lot of the future of Auburn football is going to be hinging on how he performs this Saturday, right?
Is Sandberg still here?
Yeah, he's there.
Man, I want to see Core. Man, get Core out there. Get that boy some reps.
Right. I'm just saying, like, but so what does it say about this transfer who came in and won? The backup over Sandberg, over somebody who's been in our system and knows our system. So I mean, that alone kind of gives me a little bit of excitement about what the backup can do. What are the chances that if Bo's playing poor enough that Gus will even bench him? Right? Like, you remember how Sean White responded to his benching. He got kicked off the team shortly for misconduct.
Well, right? To be fair, Sean White was always acting like that. It's just that when Stidham got here, we had a much better option, so they took away the umbrella of protection. That's what happened there. That was already happening. What he got in trouble for to get kicked off was already the case. They were just like, "Oh, got something better." Sorry.
Yeah, right. So again, the whole thing stinks. And I am, I think that you'll see the fan base start grumbling to see something else, and a year and 3 games is enough in the SEC to see, because what happens is that you're asking us to tank the rest of our season for Bo Nix's development. Suffer another year of what, again, I called out the rest of the schedule. If we lose this game, there's not another game. I mean, South Carolina, maybe, right? Like, I mean, we could lose every single game that's left on our schedule. Yeah, we lose this one, and there's no improvement, right? Like,
yeah, this is the same coach who wouldn't even bench Bo to even settle him down, to even get Gatewood reps. So for him to go away from Bo Nix, it'd have to get really bad.
We were getting drummed at Florida, and he scolded Gatewood for thinking he was going to get a series on the field.
Listen,
it was LSU.
It was LSU.
Gatewood was gone by the time we got to Florida. You're right.
Right. So because he
no, Florida happened before LSU.
Did it?
Florida happened before LSU.
Yeah, but it was
Florida.
Yeah, it was the LSU game, though, that he started to go into the game and get Bus Malzahn, yanked him back. And that was the beginning of the end, because it was
he entered the portal like that following week.
Yeah. Listen, Bo was playing as terrible as he could possibly play at LSU. We were still in the game, and you still wouldn't give Gatewood a chance. Right.
In a situation where, like, logically Gatewood was right, he probably should have been going into the game on that drive, because that was the right kind of position to put him in.
Yeah, and so Gatewood, I'm like, listen, if you're gonna put me in now, then when would I ever expect to play? If you just tied to this kid, right? And we had a lot of discussion last season about he's a legacy and he promised Patrick Nix and all this stuff, right? Like the politics that might be playing a reason of why they hadn't pulled Nix and let us see at least some of what Gatewood could do. And I mean, technically, by the numbers, he had an okay season for a freshman, and he won SEC Freshman of the Year. But yeah, I'm telling you, but and he but if you look at the nitty gritty of what he did, right? Like, like you made a statement earlier about, Bo is not going to, if it comes down to Bo having to make the play, right? We don't like our chances. Well, he's made a couple of those plays at Auburn, which is why he was still starting. But the problem with those plays is that they were bad throws that worked out. Right. And, he completed that pass to Seth Williams at Oregon, but it was badly underthrown. And Seth Williams is a beast of receiver that made an adjustment on the ball, shielded the defender with his body, and made the catch. And it was, Oregon, I think we all agreed after that game last year that Oregon gave us that game.
Yeah, for sure.
They gave us that game.
Oregon, by all, like, if you go back and watch that game, Oregon should have won that game.
Yeah, they lost it more than
we
wanted. They do.
Yeah, they gave us an opportunity, and he capitalized on it. The problem that I have with Bo Nix is that you didn't see him do that at any point in time at all the remainder of the season. Capitalized on opportunities that were given to him. The Alabama game just seems like just this, glitch in the matrix or something. Because,
right.
He threw 2 pick sixes in the same game. It's just like unheard of.
Right.
A team that does not do that routine. It's not like we were the freaking Baltimore Ravens defense out there locking everybody down and defensive touch, or even freaking Bama 2 or 3 years ago, defensive touchdowns when they had Minka Fitzpatrick and them back there. And Eddie Robinson. Not Eddie. What's his name? Eddie Robinson? No, it's Eddie Jackson. Eddie Jackson and Minka Fitzpatrick.
But mark my words, without those 2 pick sixes, we lose the Iron Bowl by more than 2 touchdowns, though.
No, for sure. Right? We only won by 3 points. So
right. So
off of the defense.
Right, yeah. But we lose by more than the difference without those defensive touchdowns because of momentum and flow of the game. And
one of them, they were in the red zone. So, like, that's at least another 3-point. Well, it's a Bama kicker, so maybe not.
Matt Jones had a good. outside of those picks, he was throwing the ball around. He was moving the chains.
They put up 43 points on us, and we had
moving the chains, moving the ball. Like that was a great first road game for him.
Waddle scored 4 touchdowns in that game, right? And I just think that game was largely why Bo Nix ended up winning Freshman of the Year. But again,
because Stingley should have won Freshman of the Year.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, but when you look at the minutia of it, right? Like he had a below average season, right? He
For
did,
sure.
because you can't play that bad on the road. Again, by after the LSU game, he had a 28% completion percentage on the road in the SEC, and our passing game was non-existent in those games. So, he has to. He has to prove that he should be the starting quarterback moving forward. We not only have to win this game, but he has to play well. He has to play well, and he has to make us eat our words. Like, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong on both. I do, because I don't want to see what I'm not confident in what will happen after.
Yeah. The only other thing I will say is if we struggle or we lose this game, watch out for the transfer portal.
Right.
You're going to see
Oh, yeah.
guys try to get up out of this program in a hurry because they're going to feel like this program is not dedicated to winning.
Sinking
because
ship.
They're sitting on the bench watching us struggle and not getting an opportunity to get in the game. They're going to leave. All right. It's like you're telling me I can't play better than these guys out here. There's no way I'm going somewhere else where I can get reps.
Right.
All right. We'll see what happens. We will be back at you guys for the pregame this Saturday. We have another early morning kickoff, so we will be back at you probably around 10 o'clock in the morning, on Saturday. And hopefully we will be talking a little bit more cheery at the halftime report. So if you don't know, if this is your first time checking us in, we do a pregame, we do a halftime, and we do a postgame. So stick with us throughout the entirety of the game. Get your reactions in with us here on the War Report. As always, we are on Instagram, not Instagram, but on YouTube as The War Report. Click like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. You want to make sure that you're staying on top of social media with The War Report on Twitter and Instagram, and also on TikTok at TW Report. We are out of here. We will holler at y'all next time. As always, War Eagle.